Good night, good morning, good afternoon to everyone on the call thus far. This is Cuthbert Nathaniel, LD1 from St. Lucia. Um, and it's 27 minutes before the hour. Welcome, Delano Brown, Galaxy J6 Plus, Mohammed Zashi, and Rachel Wolf. Welcome. Please indicate where you're joining us from. Uh, so I can formally welcome you and inform the other attendees as to what part of the world you're joining us from. Okay. So in the meantime, do reach out to your other partners so we can have a packed call before the commencement of this call.
Doing the amazing job of hosting that you always do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Renee. You know, Renee, as I was telling the attendees, I cannot do it unless they are on the call. So they are the ones who really make me do the job that I'm doing. And every time they say that it's a great call, I always tell them that the thanks goes to them. The gratitude is to them, you know. And Renee, it's always a pleasure to share the screen with you. Again, when I listen to you, your training over the last few weeks, the level of inspiration you've provided to so many of us on these calls is just really remarkable. And I know with the year coming to an end, it is indeed the appropriate time for us to look back, take stock of what has happened in the last 11 going to 12 months, and then for us to decide what it is, do a debriefing, and then to decide how we're going to approach 2020 to ensure greater success in our business. And so, Renee, it's just wonderful to have you here this evening, and I know that the few words you're going to share with us will inspire us as you always do. So I want to welcome you again, ladies and gentlemen. When we have Renee on the call, he is a remarkable trainer, a remarkable individual, an outstanding business owner in his own right, our youngest millionaire. And for me, that is a lot of inspiration. But what's even more profound for me when I listen to Renee and when I listen to the way he reaches out to us as business partners is his humility, and you can feel the passion in his voice when he speaks of his humble beginnings, and it reminds me of myself as the son of a poor fisherman. And for me, Renee, it I am able to relate with you on so many levels, and maybe that is why you truly are one of my big inspiration and persons who really inspire me. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm passing you on to Renee to start this forensic call. Welcome, Renee. Welcome, welcome.
Well, again, well, first of all, thank you. Definitely, thank you to you, Cuthbert, because again, it's very always rewarding and honoring to see new partners, and whether it's a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, getting inspired to do more with their lives. And again, I 100% definitely agree with you that it's always the people that attend these calls that make the calls exciting, because otherwise it'd be me and you talking to each other, which I gladly do any point in time in the world. But again, definitely having the attendees on it makes it much more exciting. And tonight, apologies for the older photo you see there. It's actually one of the trainings I did way back, probably about 6-7 years ago. And it's actually my photo from my wedding. So I think you can tell since then I actually lost some weight. I was a bit more chubbier back then when I first got married. This is quite some time ago. But again, it's really, really exciting because for myself, and I just came back from a meeting, and hopefully I was able to update this PowerPoint to all of the most recent, names of the company and those kind of things. But Coming back from the office, we had a meeting just now, and a lot of times, we're sort of chit chatting with me and a few other people, just about how sometimes people make the wrong mistakes, and as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know, right? So there's four things, segments. You know what you know what you don't know. You don't know what you know sometimes, and you don't know what you don't know. In this case, with compensation plans, a lot of it is you just don't know what you don't know. And so, for me, when I first got started into the industry of direct sales, two of the biggest things that meant the most to me in picking the right company, one, of course, was, do we have great products? Like, hands down, if your company does not have good products, and that's a whole conversation in itself. Is it affordable? Can it sell? Can it sell the retail value? That's really important. Is there effectiveness? Is there good uses? Is there multiple uses? And again, we're just blessed that we have the best products in the industry, blanket wide currently right now today. And again, we're going to talk a lot about that in tonight's training, about what to look for in a comp plan, but also other aspects that relate as well to the products. Like, again, there's no one else that has fountain of life, right? And so, but the other key area that I had to look at when it came down to choosing a direct sales company, one of the biggest things that you have to look for is the compensation plan. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't know sometimes the gimmicks or the tricks that different companies put into place that make it harder for you to actually make income. So, a lot of times, sometimes it's not even the lack of effort that the person is putting in to achieve these results. It's actually so many blockages designed in the compensation plan that make it harder for the average person to make that money. And so this training is usually like a long training. It could go on for 2-3 hours, but I guess we'll do what we can in the first hour, and whatever we don't cover, I guess we can save it for another day. Again, unfortunately, our CEO is busy on his world tour. He, of course, is currently in Singapore. I've been looking at the Facebook photos. It's just been blowing up as well. And so again, we can always do part two if you can't do the future calls. So, but again, I learned this directly from our CEO, Mr. Rami Masgarlu. And the things I'm going to share with you tonight, the things that you're going to learn tonight, I hope open your eyes to something that you've never understood before. And I do believe that a lot of you will be much more savvy in terms of understanding comp. So again, getting started, number one thing we want to talk about in understanding comp plan pitfalls. And the reason why we call it a pitfall is because sometimes you don't know, again, what you don't know. But these things that we don't know can cause a lot of harm and damages to us. So number one, there are many different kinds of compensation plans in the world. And there's many pitfalls in these comp plans. Now, some comp plans have more than one pitfall, and some might even have all of these. So I'm going to list for you a whole bunch of different kinds of pitfalls. And as I'm talking, you might start to think about, oh, in my last company, they actually had this pitfall, or in that company, they had that pitfall. So you might start to have these, aha moments or epiphanies as we're going along here. And what I like to call, or the CEO likes to call, the game over clauses. If you ever see a pitfall that we mention, instantly, like right away, it's game over. Do not even get involved. Do not even try it, because it's just going to be impossible to try to build those serious incomes that we all want to have, right? So again, when you see us talk about this game over clause, it literally means you hit a brick wall, you reach the end of the track, the skies are not the limit, time to throw in the towel, just leave, okay? And again, whenever you do see game over clause, the cool thing about this training is I'm going to point out so many of the things that other companies don't want you to know about, and because it would really hurt them if you understood what I'm going to teach you tonight. But again, we're blessed that in Opulence Global, we don't have these issues, all right? So the number one pitfall, and I always recommend you guys to take notes, because when you take notes, guess what? It becomes more engraved in your mind, and you really start to remember these things as well. But the first pitfall in comp plans is to understand is the majority of the payout in commissions, or what we call residual commissions, residual income, passive income, or is it in bonuses? So the first question you have to ask yourself is the majority of the payout going to be in commissions or bonuses? Okay. And so they're very different. Commissions are not bonuses. Commissions, you really want your commissions to be your main revenue stream because commissions are paid weekly and forever. Bonuses are, so again, if I had to choose between the two, I would want to have decent bonuses, but as an overall payout in a company, the bonuses should be the smaller part, right? Because think of it this way, every company only has a big of a pie as it has to pay out commissions. If majority of the pie is bonuses, and bonuses are one time, meaning you have to do the work and get it once, and do it again to get it twice, you're constantly doing something to get that. But if majority of the company's pie is paid out in bonuses, it means that your residual incomes become very small, right? Because it's the same pie, they have to divide out where the money goes. And so to me, really quickly after my first two companies, and this is my third company, Opulence Global, I quickly understood I need to find a plan that has good bonuses, but amazing residuals. So after I build it for 3, 4 years or 5 years, you can really go to the beach. Okay. And so the one thing to understand is that if the payout allocation in the company is heavily in bonuses, it actually makes the company rich. Because think about it, if majority of a company's pie, like 90% of this pie, is paid out in bonuses, and you have to qualify to get the bonuses, and not many people are getting the bonuses, it means the company is making all that money. They're keeping that money for themselves, right? So, a lot of companies that can't afford to pay out a high payout will have so many bonuses because it looks pretty on the PDF. It sounds fancy, but majority of the people can't get it. Whereas if the payout allocation in the company is majority heavy in the commissions or the residual income or the passive income, guess what? That makes the distributor rich because once you have your ongoing commissions, don't forget you always get them. You get it every single week because there's constant volume in your sales. So as a distributor, and I'm no different than you guys, right? We're all distributors here. Because again, I'm not corporate. I'm a lifestyle advisor, LD4, so I'm one of you guys, right? We want to have majority of the payout in commissions because once you build it for those 3, 4, 5 years, guess what? You get it every single week for the rest of your life. And that's how you retire. But if the opposite is in the works, which is that if it's majority in bonuses, even after 4 or 5 years, if your residuals are this small of the pie, how can you live on that small residual? So I know a lot of people that might have a $10,000 a month or $20,000 in a month, but the very next month, their income goes down to 2,000 because majority of that plan was in bonuses of focus. All right. So what is the right allocation then of bonuses versus commissions? And what we believe, or what I believe, is that if 80% of the payout allocation can be focused in commissions, that's a great ratio. So the other 20% goes towards, of course, the bonuses. Now, there's payout allocation, which is so of the company's pie, what is the allocation, right? That's this line talking about the payout allocation. But the payout is different. So try to follow along here, right? Payout refers to every dollar that the company brings in, right? How much can they afford to pay out? So, most good companies, I would say, have a payout allocation of roughly close to 50, 60%. Meaning of every dollar the company makes, what goes into this pie is about 60%. Now that's a decent payout. Ours, by the way, is about 75%, which means every dollar that the company makes, about 75% gets paid out. So our pie is 75% essentially of what the company makes. Other companies' pie is 60%. Other companies' pies are only 50%. And then of that pie, they have a lot of it in bonuses. So hopefully I'm kind of having you understand the difference between payout allocation of the pie versus the overall payout and how big was that pie to start off with in the first place. Okay, so again, so I've seen companies as an example, like not to name any names here, where they have 20 ways to earn commissions or bonuses, and 19 of them are bonuses. So it's actually not hard to see if a company has a good or bad comp plan. If you open their PDF, if you can find their PDF, because just recently I had someone in my team who asked me to do a comparison with another company that was selling some deer placenta. And it's funny, I Googled for an hour trying to find this company's comp plan. We asked the distributors, send me your comp plan. We just can't get it. It's so dodgy and almost, you got to question, well, why can't this thing be found? So again, if you can find the company's PDF comp plan, just scroll down all that fancy text, pictures, lifestyle stuff, and look for the main focus being residual income or commissions or team commissions. That's the part that you really want to focus on, right? And so in Opulence Global, again, our focus is really in commissions. And again, we do pay to infinity as well. So that's the first pitfall. And I hope you've enjoyed it so far. If you enjoyed it, I'd love to hear some comments. Say, keep on going, Renee, or it's good stuff, and keep on going. Okay, so yeah, I would appreciate some comments. That'd be always cool for me, motivating me to keep on going, right?
Yes,
So
Renee. For me, Renee, it's remarkable because just this first pitfall, looking at the mix between the commission and the bonuses. I mean, just listening to you, and when it is more bonuses, it is the company that benefits, that makes all the money. Whereas if the mix is more towards commission, the distributor is the one that really makes the money. So that it's remarkable for me, an eye opener. And I think many other persons, we're getting awesome, great stuff, Renee. Keep going, love it. Thank you. Keep on going, Renee. Renee, that's great. So Renee, keep on going.
okay, no rest for the weary, right? Okay, we're gonna keep on going here because a lot of great stuff to share with you guys. So again, thank you for your love, folks, because I do hope that this really just brings more light onto this topic. Okay, pitfall number 2 is payout levels, meaning how many levels does you get paid to in the compensation plan? And this is one of the most first questions you got to ask yourself because it probably has second most largest impact, in terms of paying you, right? And in terms of your success ratio. So remember this, if the company does not pay you to infinity, it is instant game over, like instant game over. There's no maybe, but if hypothetically, it is just 100% game over here. Because here's what companies know that maybe the average person doesn't think about. Let's say for you, for example, the majority of your distributors or the bulk of your team that you will have will actually be below 8 levels or 8 generations. So 8 levels is like, there's you, the person right below you is level 1, below them is level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Generations is, if I bring in person A, but A might sponsor person B 8 levels down, that's second generation. So generations and levels are slightly different. But majority of your distributors, this is for all of us on the call, majority of your distributors will, if you stay long enough in your plan, in your company, it will be below 8 levels. Because guess what? Right below you on level 1, you can only have 2 people, right? On level 2, you can only have 4 people. Level 3, right, you can only have 8. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 56, right? And then 512, and then 1024. So Majority though, because again, it's not likely you'll have exactly the 248, right? Because maybe someone's not doing something on their inside leg, right? So majority of your distributors are 100% guarantee you will be past your 8 levels. So companies are smart. They know this. So a lot of companies design their plans so that they only pay you on the first 8 to 10 levels, right? And you can see that by looking at their team commission slide in their fancy PDFs, right? So, um, and just think logically, right? The longer you're in your business, the deeper your organization will grow. Like logically speaking, right? Like for me, whether I start doing the business, continue doing the business, or stop doing the business, which I never will, but if I were to stop, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper, right? So imagine if you had 10 years from now, because we're all thinking long-term business, right? We're not thinking get rich overnight because those things don't exist, right? The longer you're in your business, imagine you had a report that told you, hey, your whole entire distribution was about 500 levels deep. You've got $1 million of sales volume, but we can only pay you on the first 8 that only has 10,000 volume. Like, how would that feel, right? It would kill me. And so I often meet other people who are in other companies, especially companies like that are unilevel or matrices or breakaways. And they always try to tell me, Renee, if you came to our company, you make so much more money. And my simple response that, again, like you got to imagine their faces when I tell them this response, because it's like one sentence I had to say, and they get it, and it just shocks their face. Is I tell them, if I were to, if hypothetically I had this organization moved into your company, my check would go down about 98%. Why would I, so you need to be looking at this company instead, right? So, and when I say that, you can see their faces are just kind of like, like almost like they have diarrhea going on, and they just, it's like really uncomfortable kind of a face, right? So, but again, now what some other companies do though, and they're quite sneaky about this, is they'll say, okay, well, we don't pay you to infinity yet, but if you do something, then you can unlock all the other levels. Even in these cases, game over, right? Because why would you want to be in a plan that you had to do something to unlock infinity when in our comp plan, you get infinity on day one, right? And by the way, usually if companies tell you, okay, you do this, then you get paid to infinity, usually the ratio of what you're getting, so let's say you're getting like 5% or 8% or whatever on the first 8 levels. Usually when you unlock infinity, you're not getting 5% or 8% on everything. You're getting like maybe 1%. And the 1% is not really to infinity, it's to the next person that has your rank. But we'll get there. That's later on in the slides, all right? So one example of a company that was really popular back in the days, and you might actually guess which company this is by looking at the percentages I'm showing you here. They were a matrix company, and on your first 2 levels, they paid you 1/4%. Listen carefully. You're not getting 5%. You're not getting 1%. You're getting 1/4 of 1% on the first level. On the second level, which is 2, 4, on the 4 people, you're getting 1/4%. On the third level, you get 0.5%, then 1%, then 2%, then 3%. And look at this, on the last level, on level 7 or whatever, then they give you 8%. Isn't that kind of funny, right? I see all these funky kind of things, right? And the reason why they give you the 8% on that last level, like level 7, is because they know, realistically speaking, to have every person on that 8th, 7th level, to have every single person there means you had to have every single person on level 6, 5, 4, all there in the exact same, right? So they know it's not gonna happen. So they entice you by giving you, they make it look fancy and they put 8% on that level, right? So again, it's unrealistic that will ever happen. And the beautiful thing about Opulence Global is, again, you start at 5%, which is already much higher than many other companies, and all the way up to 8.5%. Now, I've heard of many other companies that will tell you you get 10%, but you have to understand how that 10% is calculated. And we're getting there. So even if you hear 10% or 12% or 15% or 20%, most of the time it's paying you on the weaker leg or the smaller leg, which is not really a true 10%. It's more you're getting like 5% or even less. All right. But we're gonna get there later on. So, but for this purpose, this main pitfall is understanding you must get paid to infinity. Like it's so vital, because it would just suck if you built it for 10 years only to get paid to like level 7, right? So again, if you guys enjoyed point number 2, we can get some more comments like, Renee, we like it, and keep on going. So hopefully you enjoyed number 2.
Renee, as you went through pitfall number 2, a number of us on the chat have been, when we look at the example you showed there, we call them thieves and sneaky, unscrupulous. So these are the things you're seeing. And then you ask whether you'd be upset, with these if you're only going to get paid up to the 8th level and you have so many other levels, and persons are saying that they would believe it, they would be angry and so on. And it is indeed the emotion that individuals would feel if they're told that this is what the comp plan is about. And that is why, Renee, I like you using the example and then bringing us back to our company, how Opulence Global starts from 5% and you go up to the 8%, 8.5%. And this is remarkable. And the other thing that sets us apart as an MLM company to others is the fact that you get paid to infinity. And Renee, maybe before you move on to the pitfall number 3, to get persons to understand that in the comp plan, the importance of that, the commissionable volume and remaining on not remaining on PV, so that your commissionable volume is not flushed.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, thank you, because you mentioned a really important point that maybe I should add to these slides. So again, thank you, Cuthbert, is that a lot of the companies, what they do is they make you self-purchase so much personal products, which he just called it PV, personal volume, in order to keep a lot of the commissions from down below. And so they make you put in all this money yourself. And I think one common example is people from Amway. I've had Amway leaders still in my company, and they had to put in like a few $1,000s a month just to keep their rank, so they wouldn't drop a rank. Again, that's like a future slide as well too, right? And again, it's important to understand that in Opulence Global, you're not getting paid 8.5% on just one leg. It's 8.5% on the small leg, plus, listen carefully now, 8.5% plus another 8.5% on the bigger leg. Now you're probably thinking, well, how do I get to 8.5% on the bigger leg? Think about, right? If you have on the smaller leg 1800 CV, you're getting 8.5%, right, on that CV. But in our comp plan, the 1800, it takes 3600 on the bigger side. So you're actually getting double the 8.5% on the bigger side. So really, if I were to phrase this, and I always talk to the CEO, we should change the way we market this, because other companies are very sneaky. If we did what other companies did, our actual payout, if you have a calculator, guys, 8.5% and times it by 3. Because you're getting paid 8.5% on 1800 3 times, right? 1800, 8.5%, 3600, 8.5%. So yeah, you're getting 8.5% 3 times on 1800. So our actual payout in this case would be 25.5%. If I were to do what other companies did, right? So
Rennie,
yes.
I'm happy that you've raised that point. And I don't want to belabor it, but it shows us that even in the weaker team, the weaker leg, you are able to, once your stronger leg has the necessary points, the 3,600 points, you are still able to get that 8.5 across both teams. And that is
Yeah,
remarkable.
thank you. Because again, so really, if you wanted to do it apples to apples, our company payout, like I was very conservative when I wrote this, 5 to 8.5%. It's really 15% up to 25.5% is our payout then in our cycles, right? But again, just want to keep it real. And my goodness, like there's so many companies out there where people are like they're personally loading up on inventory just to keep their commissions. That is scary. You're basically not making any money, right? So again, I love your comments, guys. Keep it coming, and let's move on to number 3. So it's already 9:30. Look at that. Okay, so here is just some different examples to finish off point number 2 of what other comp plans do. Because there's 4 main types of compensation plans you will find in MLM that are legal. If they don't really fit these 4 categories, be wary because they're most likely going to be illegal. The first type is called unilevel. If you ever see a unilevel plan and you're trying to build something for life and maximize your efforts, it's game over. Like it's just not worth it, because unilevel plans, what they make you want to do is build really wide. And it's funny, they call it sunburst, stream burst. They have all these fancy names for rainbow shooting. I don't know. I see all these crazy names for a unilevel plan. But if you have to build more than 2 legs, or you can build many, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, that's what's called unilevel. So you build really wide, but you only get paid down to 3 or 4 levels. That's like the old Amways of the days, right? And so again, it's an instant game over. And the reason why they encourage you to build wide is because they pay you the most commissions on the first level, usually. Second level, you get less, and third level, you get less. So there's so much what we call competition plan contradictions, because in a good comp plan, you don't mind putting people down below your team, right? Because it's going to help everyone. In these kind of plans, usually you want to keep people attached to yourself because you have a higher payout commission than them being 2 levels or 3 levels down. So I don't like plans where you get a different percentage of a payout on the different levels. So again, this is so much things that they do that contradict how is the best way to help your team have success, which is always helping them build depth. All right. So again, imagine if again, folks, what you're learning on this call tonight. Imagine if people in other companies heard this training video, right? I'm glad we actually had this recorded because we can help a lot of people who don't understand what's going on here. But I think we could really help people understand what's really going on here. And so I'm glad that we had this recorded, because most companies, as I said in the very beginning, don't want you to understand what you're learning right now. But we don't have these issues. We're just going to talk about it, right? Okay, so that's one case, is the unilevel plan. Another kind of plan is called the matrix. Now, the matrix was like an evolution from the unilevel, where they said, okay, you don't have to build that many legs. We're going to, it's always an X by Y. So X means how wide you build, and Y is how deep you get paid. So a 2 by 10, which is X is 2, means you can build 2 legs, and Y is 10, you get paid 10 levels deep. Could be a 3 by 5, meaning you get paid 3, you build 3 legs wide and get paid 5 levels deep, right? So my last company I was in was actually a matrix, a 2 by 10. If you heard of ACN, they had like a 3 by 7 matrix. So, but in short, if you ever see a matrix, it's game over, because they don't pay to infinity at the same percentage from day one. And most of them don't even have an infinity payout. And again, you have to build, so they got a bit better than the unilevels because you don't have to build 20 legs. And here's the other reason why you don't want to build wide. Let's say I have my friends, right? And usually you have groups of friends. So like this group is my badminton friend, this group is my karaoke friends, this group is my family, this group is my, my church friends. So you have different categories of friends, right? As your work friends. If you have to build wide to maximize your payout, Now you're putting people on different legs. It's okay if they're in different groups, right? But if you have a group of, like, let's say my coworkers or my badminton friends, logically they know the same people. You want to put them together in the same leg, right? But in a unilevel or a matrix, they want to make you build wide. Now they're making you separate your two friends. But now these two are fighting each other to build their own teams. It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction. So the minimum amount of legs you can build legally in network marketing is 2 legs. Hence, we have a binary system. So it's much easier to group your people in different legs. And I mean, will you have potential situations where people, know each other? It's bound to happen. At least it's the minimum chance that will happen in having a 2-leg system. So again, just other things to consider that make it challenging in building other kind of comp plans is when you have groups of friends, you don't want to separate them because now you're creating competition amongst friends and it gets ugly, right? So that's the matrix. Now the third kind of plan that we have that pays down to levels is called the stair-step breakaway. It's funny. It's quite confusing, this one, but I'll try to explain it in real simple layman terms. I've met people that are in a breakaway plan and they don't even understand what's going on. Like, they don't even know it's a breakaway plan because it's so confusing. Anyways, there's 2 parts to a stair-step breakaway. The stair-step part is based upon the amount of volume of sales that you do. So here, you're a new distributor. And let's say, when you have 2 customers or X amount of sales, now you are assistant supervisor. So now your commission on the sales of your people, you're earning 5%. As you have more people or you have higher volume in your team, and you're now a supervisor rank because you sold more volume in your team, you get 8%, as a manager 13%, as a manager 18%. So either they make you have a lot more people to have a higher percentage payout on your sales volume, or they make you have higher sales volume in your entire organization to have a higher percentage of payout, okay? So it's all good if you get to manager. I mean, I prefer to get 18% on day one, but whatever. Let's say you got to the manager, right? What happens though is when someone else in your team hits the same rank that you do. So let's say you got to supervisor, okay? That's your rank, right? That's the stair step part. Here comes the breakaway part. So let's say you're a supervisor, and let's say I was in your team, and I got to the same rank that you were. So I got to supervisor. Guess what happens to your pay? Well, first of all, the people, if that happened, number one, okay, let me reverse. If I was the assistant supervisor and you were the supervisor, instead of you getting 8% now, you only get 3% because I made it to assistant supervisor. I need my 5% on this organization. You can't get the whole 8% because the company can't pay us both the 8%. So now instead of getting 8% on everything, you get 8% on everything except from me downwards, you get 3%. That's how they split this stuff up. That's one situation, right? But what happens though is if you are the supervisor and I also become a supervisor, your 8%, look here, the missing zeros, you get 0% because they can't pay you 8% and pay me 8%. But so from you down to me and me downwards, it's 0% now. So that's messed up, first of all. You're probably thinking, this is crazy. But why do we call this a contradiction again? Is because initially, maybe you're helping me because I'm in your team. You want to help me, coach me, train me, assist me, go to meetings with me, blah, 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 blah. But if I match your rank now, and now you're getting 0% on whatever I do you still want to help me? Do you still care about me? Do you still want to encourage me to do more? No, because financially you don't get a gain. what makes Opulence Global different is you get benefit from every single person below you, regardless of their rank. So, in fact, if you were like an LD1 or you just signed up, recently, and you had two LD4s on either leg, you are laughing. You are like bawling because you're just gonna get paid for the rest of your life. Because there's no breakaway in our system. So, um, unfortunately, a lot of people, though, if you're wondering, well, why do people actually get involved in these companies? It's because they're so captured by the bonuses and the upfront money they try to push into your face that they don't think about what's going to happen if them remaining in the business beyond 3, 4, 5 months or beyond a year. They're not even thinking long term, but we should be thinking long term because we're building long term, right? So it's really scary what happens out there. And again, it's not because I've seen people who got to manager positions and they're making mostly 18% on most of their organization. Maybe they have a few supervisors, so they're getting 13% up until that supervisor because they keep the 5. They might have, but I've seen people who are managers that had just the right amount of people right below them that also hit managers, and their income went from like 10,000 down to like $200 because guess what? The company can't pay everyone that same amount of money. It is scary. So again, I want to take a quick pause. I want to hear some feedback. Cuthbert as usual too, as I get some more water.
Okay, Rennie, this is scary as you said. It's extremely disturbing, particularly this step breakaway comp plan. I mean, it's no wonder persons lose money when they go into these businesses. It's no wonder that people are not motivated, and it's no wonder that there is a significant level of attrition, a high percentage of attrition. You know, and thank God for Opulence Global that our retention rate is very high. But let me share some of the comments as you were going through this.
Oh, please, we'd love to hear them.
Oh, tonight they're lighting up the chat. Somebody said, "My gosh, whoa, totally scummy. Who came up with this crap?" What the heck? Worst comp plan ever. That's Teresa Bolton. And then we have no wonder MLM makes some people cringe. It's really no wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people stay away from it. Amajit says, whoa, whoa, whoa. And Nora Bastian said, that happened to my niece with WFG.
Yeah,
She
financial
lost
company.
commission. Yeah, she lost commission from the person she sponsored and trained because she achieved same rank as my niece. Verlene from Anguilla said, this is mind-blowing. It is indeed. Nora, what? Oh, okay. You said that's a company, WFG.
Yes.
Totally mind-blowing training, Rennie, and that's coming from Eyal Givon.
Thank you.
I think Eyal is from Israel, and somebody.
And I did want to address one question that you just asked, which was who makes up with this crap, as they called it. And I think it's really great to talk about this because the people who make these kind of plans are typically, some sort of a business graduate whose job is to design a plan where here's what happens. Most companies understand what is their profit margin in their products, right? They understand this. And what companies do is they hire someone who's like a comp plan expert. And Ramin, by the way, our CEO, companies in the past hired him to design their comp plans. And what he was given was essentially the company says to him, okay, well, Ramin, or we have this much profit in the company. We need to have someone on stage with a big check, to entice people to join. So, we want to say that our company payout is 60%, but in reality, we can only afford 20%. So we need you to put all these things in place, all these ranks and hurdles and loops and fire hoops and obstacles in your way, so that you only actually pay out 20%. So on the document of the company, it might say we have a 60% payout, but in actuality, they're designing the comp plans to only pay out 25, 30% because they can't afford to pay out that much money. And what they then do is actually it's a good point here because, most companies don't even pay out 20%. I guess I'm just sort of being polite here. Yeah, it's like 8%. I see that too. But the whole thing is and the thing is they need to have a story. One step further, they'll say to, someone like Ramin, we also got to have like 1%, that has that story on stage. So can you design these things so that only one person has this rank and that person can make 8% of the 20%, so it entices people. Like there's so many things that are going on here, and we're just blessed that our CEO is the one who designed this plan, and he designed it for the distributors, not for the company, because he believed
Absolutely.
that if the distributors can make money, you'll have a huge longevity of a company. So so I had to answer that question. It's usually people that are hired to are purposely design these kind of plans. Yeah.
Uh,
So
I don't know if you want me to read some more, but we have quite a few. I don't know.
okay, well,
Some,
it's 9:48. My goodness, we got to try to, maybe we
okay,
can
so
do one last thing, and end by 10. But I'm glad that we have so much activity in this group chat because I'm
yeah,
glad that you're here with me. All right, so I guess carrying along here. Again, thank you for your comments, people, and please keep on sharing as I go along here. So the only plan that pays to infinity on day one is a binary plan. Now you might be thinking, well, does that mean that every binary plan is good? No. There are, even within binaries, there's things that can be done. And my goodness, when you learn this stuff, there's things that they can be done in binary plans that also make it hard. They can put the same hurdles and obstacles and fire hoops in a binary plan that still make it hard to pay out to infinity. All right. So again, binaries are typically the only plans that you get volume to infinity. Now, a lot of the older binaries, like my first company was called USANA, or the Market Americas of the world, a lot of the older binaries had a 50-50 rule, which meant that you had to have exactly equal volume on both legs to get paid out. But logically, the binary can never be balanced. Like it honestly, like if it's impossible because you have more sales here, more sales there. It'll never be exactly 50-50, right? So it was a bit too rigid. So the newer binaries came out and they had the idea, well, let's try to make it a bit easier by making it like a 1/3, 2/3, because they knew that it wouldn't be balanced. So they said, well, you can have an imbalancing on the legs. So it was a little bit better. But then again, however, they realized, well, if we did that, we'd overpay out too quickly because we don't have the profit margins. So now they're saying, well, 1/3, 2/3, it's also a downside because in the odd situation, if you had a 50-50, like if your legs just happen to be close, not exactly, but even close to 50-50, you couldn't get paid out because you didn't have the right 1/3, 2/3 combinations. So it was still a bit rigid. And most of the 1/3, 2/3 that you have out there, guess what? They only pay you on the smaller leg, which is the most frustrating thing in binaries that people don't get. Because so what these companies do is they say, well, we're going to pay you 12%. And you're thinking, wow, 12% beats Opulence's 8.5%. But you don't realize that 12% is only on the smaller leg. The 2/3 bigger leg, that is what you want to get paid on, but they're not paying you on it because they can't afford to or they don't want to, right? So again, in our company, just understand that you get paid again on both legs, on all sales to infinity. And again, if I were to use the same calculation method other companies use, we have like a 25.5% payout, because if you had 1800 on the small leg, you're getting 8.5% on 1800. If you had 3600, which is double 1800s, you're getting 8.5% on 1800, 8.5% on 1800 for 3600. It's in that, based on how others do their comparison, it's 25.5% payout. Now, I have a cool example to show you how this works though. But before we get there, the third one is ranks, and I think we're going to run out of time in 8 minutes. Let me just quickly do one thing here and move forward to show you my point before. And we'll do ranks maybe next week or something like that. I got to show you my point on this binary thing here. So what we're talking about is, do you get payout on all the legs? So pitfall number 2 was getting paid to infinity, right? Now within infinity, which is the binary plan, pitfall number 7 is talking about, do you get payout on both of the legs? So other companies, for example, might pay you 10% on their weaker leg, whereas Opulence Global pays you from 5% to 8.5% on both legs. So let's give an example here to see how it works. Here's ABC company, there's you. Here's your small leg with 1800 volume, and the big leg, let's say 100,000 volume. According to ABC's compensation plan, they pay you 10% on the weaker leg. So 10% of 1800. So I'm just going to quickly do some adjustment here. So 10% of the 1800 gives you $180, right? So 10% of 1800 volume is $180. That's your payout, okay? The same numbers in Opulence Global, 1800 on the left, 100,000 on the right. What we do is we take 8.5% payout on both the legs. So we take 1800 from the small leg, you take 3600 from the bigger leg of 100,000. That total is 5,400, and then you get 8.5% on the 5,400, and your payout is $460 a power cycle. So I hope you get the point here. If a company only pays you on the smaller leg, the exact same volume, $180 versus $460, which one would you prefer? Exact same effort, exact same volume, but by only paying you on the weaker leg, you get paid $180. In our plan, we pay you on both legs, and on the 2/3 bigger leg, and you're getting paid $460. That is literally almost 3 times the volume. So this relates to what we call the earning per distributor ratio, because it means for you to make the exact same money in Opulence Global, in other companies, you would need more distributors, because you're earning per distributor, you need more people. So again, would you rather have, let's say 60 people that pays you $180 a month, or would you rather have 60 people that pays you $460 per month? It means you need less people to make more money to retire sooner. Does that make sense, guys? So this is such a huge thing, and it drives me nuts when people don't understand how their own plan works, right? And you know what? This is based upon the 8.5%. Like, let's say you're brand new and you only got 5%, but again, 5% on 5,400 volume is still a lot more, right? So my whole point is, even if you're brand new, you're still getting more of a payout. So 5% on 5,400 volume, you're still making about $300. It's still, because you're getting paid on that bigger leg, your payout is still more than double, because at the very least, you're getting paid another portion on the bigger leg, and that's going to be at least half, if not 2/3 more, right? So my goodness, time flies. It's already 10 p.m. And I think we have to pause here, because you can see there's a lot more to go. But maybe we can save some for next week. But yeah, again, just wanted to pause right here and maybe you can share some more words here. Cuthbert.
Renee, um, a number of persons on the call is saying, Renee, you just continue. They can stay up. But I think you have persons all pumped up, Renee. And as I said,
Oh,
the chat is on fire tonight. But Renee, it's just remarkable how the illustration you have there, it just opens our minds to how remarkable our payout system really is. Because when you look at the comparison you made there, you're getting paid 10% on your weaker team, and what happens to the stronger team? You're not making anything on that. Whereas,
oh, and to add to that, Cuthbert, they also remove the volume on the bigger leg, but they don't pay you on it. So, because in ours, they'll deduct the volume on both legs, right, and then pay you. Even these other companies, they deduct the volume on both the legs, and they don't even pay you on the bigger leg. So, I just want to add that quick point there. Yeah,
wow. So you are just being stolen from after you have
essentially,
worked it.
yeah.
Yeah. But Renee, let me read a few of the comments. There are lots of them. Nora Basin said, in our comp plan, we actually wonder how does Ramin make money, but he's been generous for 13 years and we are still debt free. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Teresa Bolton says, keep going. EL Gibbon says, Renee, take your time. It's only 4:55 a.m. here. Go
Oh
on.
my goodness, 5 in the morning.
Yeah, she is in Israel, I believe. We also have Myrna Siret. Wow, wow, wow. Keep going. I can stay up until 9 p.m. We have Valine. Valine says, Rennie, is this comparison using the second best comp plan after Opulence?
Oh, let me answer that question. So pretty much, yeah. Like what you're seeing here is already the better of the comp plans I've seen. There's 99% other comp plans are even worse than this. Like if you saw the comp plan and you'll learn to look for the residual section, you're like, "Whoa," you want to vomit because it is so bad. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention one key point before we close this video off. Is don't be fooled if you hear companies say something like, our company's payout is 100%. That's like I've seen companies for a while who are trying to boast who has the highest payout. Again, ours is about 75%, right? So every dollar the company gets for products, 75% is paid out. The other 25%, you have to make the product and the company has to keep some profits to grow the company. So to answer that question before, how does the company survive? They're surviving on that other 25 percentile, right? Now, I've heard some companies before say stuff like, well, our company, we have 100% payout. I'm like, are you absolutely insane? So how does the company run on so you're a charity company, like every dollar you make, you don't have to hire staff, you don't have to make the product. Like what's so don't be fooled by that stuff. A real company, the best payout you can have advertised is usually 75%. Beyond that, there's a lot of red flags to be asked about that company. Yeah. Anyways.
But Renee, even when you look at 75%, that's overly generous, huh?
It is, but again, so don't forget, right? Because the 75% in our company, it's broken up. It's broken up in that payout allocation. So of the 75%, 65% is in the binary, 60 to 65% binary. The other
Mhm.
10% is in the actual bonuses, right? So again, if bonuses don't get paid out, based upon the allocation that week, right? So every week, the company makes, let's say, $1 million, and the payout is 75%, which is $750,000.
Mhm.
But then 65% is in residuals, which is $650,000. The other $100,000 is in the bonuses. Again, sometimes if the bonuses aren't paid out, then of course then it goes back to the company's pool, right? So we have the right combination just to grow things properly. But yeah, it is quite high, and I think it's at the maximum threshold it can be at. So every company, we have
Okay.
to check on a weekly basis: are we getting too close to that? Will we actually exceed that payout? So we're constantly monitoring things as a company point of view. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again for that, Renee. Some other comments. Thank you, Ramin, for your generosity and an amazing, amazing plan. Erin wrote, Part B next week. Thank you, Renee. Mommy says, thanks so much, Teresa. You have our attention. Believe me, you have everybody's attention tonight, Renee. Renee, thanks for blessing us. Thank you very much, Renee and Cuthbert. That's from Amajit.
Oh, you're very
Um,
welcome.
and Natalia says, 24 years old, getting and gaining this wisdom from a millionaire. I'm so blessed. Thanks, Renee, for your time and wisdom.
And folks, I would love to continue doing this call, but just out of respect for people who might have work schedules in different countries, who only budget an hour for the call, I just want to respect them as well too. And so, again, if I can get permission from the company, I would like to do part B next week. But I'm pretty sure it can be done. And yeah, we'll try to continue this. So much more to share, though. Like your minds will be blown again next Tuesday.
Okay. Well, Renee, we understand we have an issue of time. So let me say again, Renee, thank you. Let me, on behalf of everybody here this evening, all the attendees, thank you so much for presenting this to us. And you are indeed the expert on compliance, and I must say, and we really do appreciate you taking the time out to share your knowledge with us. And the great thing is your ability to impart it in the simplest of manner, so that we, no matter what educational background we have, we can understand and appreciate it. And so I say thank you on behalf of everyone, Renee, and we look forward to part two. I'm really looking forward to it because I started taking notes and I have so much more to take, because it has really broadened my understanding. So the CEO is in Singapore now, and
Yes.
we have the Ottawa tour that's coming up on the 29th. Let me just make sure I have the dates right before we go. 29th to the 30th, that's in Ottawa. And we have the last of the Winter 2019 World Tour, which will be in um, London, Doubletree by Hilton, 60 Pentonville Road, United Kingdom, December 13th and 14th. We have our CEO and our Senior Vice President, Sanaz Uman, who will be there. So, ladies and gentlemen, get individuals you know to go to these meetings, go to these stores, and let these people be enlightened, be inspired, and so they can become part of our Opulence Global family. And so with this, I say thank you again, Renee. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. This is Cuthbert Nathaniel, LD1 from St. Lucia, most beautiful, picturesque, warm, sunny country in the world. So, guys, come on. You're all welcome. Bye, Renee. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Good night, everyone. See you guys next week, hopefully. All right. Bye, everyone. Good night.